Hi there, I'm Sean Osterlink, and this is Overcoming with ACT. I'm coming at you from a different angle in my office today. I often sit in my comfy padded chair behind me where I've got my whiteboard, but I didn't think I'd use my whiteboard today, so here I am. If this is the view that my virtual clients typically get of me, though sometimes I do move things over so that I can use the right whiteboard on a virtual call, but typically this is the view. So anyway, the topic I wanted to talk about today, take another swing at, because I've made a video about this before that I don't think I ended up uploading because I felt like it went too long. But I have a form that I like to give new clients, if I remember, that is a counselor feedback form, because I want my clients to have an idea. I mean, some people have been to therapy before, and people have previous counselor experience, or this may be their first time in counseling, but though I want them to have an idea of what good qualities of therapy look like, and to have something by which they could give me feedback on, rate me on, because I appreciate feedback and I'm not perfect, and I want to provide people good quality of care. And I want to talk about things if there are any issues in therapy, because if there are any issues, I want to be able to address it with clients. I want to be able to make repairs if possible so that rapport can stay strong, right? And work out things. I might not be a good fit, or sometimes I mean, I'm human and I make mistakes, and we make mistakes as therapists, right? And sometimes we put our foot in our mouth and say something and then go, whoops, like that was not the right timing, or that was not the right thing. So sometimes there are errors along the way, and it's good to be able to get feedback and talk through those things. And so I always encourage new clients and clients along the way that I am amenable to feedback, and I want to talk through things with people. And so some of the things I put on this form, to give people an idea of what to be looking for, are, I'm going to talk through these. First of all, I feel accepted by my therapist and experience little or no judgment. So that's the first one I put on there. So therapy should feel like a safe place to go to. Now, there can be anxiety with coming to therapy, of course. There's going to be discomfort that comes with it, whether that's individual or couples or family. You're going to be talking about things that can be hard to talk about. You may be confronted on things over the course of therapy, whether that's through your own self-discovery, the kinds of questions that I as the therapist am asking, things that we're exploring, or even directly observations that I may be making as a therapist. Like therapy is a place that is meant to be safe and non-judgmental, and at the same time it's a place where you're coming in contact with yourself and another person. And so anyway, it's important that you do feel like you can be accepted and comfortable with your therapist, even in the midst of that discomfort, that they're walking through it with you, that they're well, this goes to the next one: feeling heard, feeling understood and valued, right? These things go together. To feel like you can share things with your therapist, and that they're not going to make awkward faces, judgmental faces, that they're going to keep their own values in check, that they are attuning to you, that they're understanding you, where you're coming from. And so that's part of what I'm aiming for as I'm working with clients, is that you feel like you're being accepted into this place, that I'm staying with you as far as what you're sharing. You're being understood, that you're being valued as my client. And I can say I absolutely care about the people that come into work with me as clients. Like I've said in another video, like I realized that I like doing this. I learned that I like to have these kind of conversations with people before becoming a therapist, I discovered this through friendships. I discovered this through my previous line of work, where I just end up having kind of deep conversations with people, and found that I could be kind of a good listener and ask good questions. And so therapy training, graduate school really honed that stuff for me. So I like I like to meet people where they are and walk with you as you grow and discover new things with you. So anyway, those first 2 points are you should feel relatively accepted. It shouldn't feel like a judgmental or harsh space. You should feel like you're being understood, like you're being valued by your therapist. And so I have rating scales of 1 to 10. So you could rate that, mark that off, right? Does it feel like that's strong, or does it feel like that's weak? I feel like my therapist is a good fit and we have good rapport. All of this relates to good rapport. It's so important to have good rapport with your therapist. Right? That's going to determine how open, how real you feel like you can be in therapy. That can affect your motivation, your desire to even come to therapy, and how open you're going to be. And so that's going to affect overall outcomes. Like having good rapport is really important. While your therapist is not your friend, and this is not like a space to hang out and shoot the breeze or whatever, there should be a good sense of just like you should feel like you like get along with your therapist, that it's like a good working relationship with them, and that can look different with different people. Right, and it's not going to look the same with everybody. With some people, there's there could be more lightheartedness. There can be more jovialness to it at times, and when there's a good rapport there can just be more of a comfort level. And I think as therapists, I know I can feel that. I think that's pretty typical to be able to have that feel of that fit. And so I do encourage people, like, I'm not going to be the right fit for everyone. I'm not going to be the right fit for you potentially. I'm going to do what I can to be that, and yet I'm not going to be able to be all things to all people, the right fit for all people. But you deserve to have a good fit with your therapist, so you should seek that out. And of course, you can tell me that. I always ask for feedback, typically at the end of an intake and again along the way. And so if it's just not feeling like a good fit, dude, that's perfectly fine. Like, I appreciate that feedback. Going on, I feel like I can trust my therapist. So you're coming in here to talk about the deepest things, secretive things you might not share with anybody else. And so we have professional ethics. We have laws as being licensed professionals that we have to abide by. We've got confidentiality, things there. So while there is that professional element that we bring, that you're going to be this stranger coming in and talking with us as therapists, that doesn't necessarily automatically mean trust, especially if you've had people who were supposed to be trustworthy in your life break trust. Then certainly that could carry over to the therapist office, or even if you've had issues with previous therapists in the past. So, and I aim to earn that trust, and I explain confidentiality at the intake. But certainly I want to know along the way if there are any issues, and I'll just validate that. Like, go at your own pace, share things as you're able to. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help build that trust with you. Let's see. I think that therapy is helping me grow or reach my goals. So I want to know if we're making progress in therapy. We will set goals, even SMART goals, specific ones. And so I want that feedback to know, are we heading in the right direction? Are we making progress? That's something we'll check in on with along the way. So let me know that. I mean, at any point in therapy, I want to know, are we on the right track? Are these sessions helping you? Right? Some sessions, like, not every session is going to be as grand as every other. So some questions are more thoughtful, and some sessions are more thoughtful and deep. and can have more progress. And there are sessions along the way that will just be like, oh yeah, that was fine. So they're not all going to be groundbreaking, but there should be generally like a stock ticker should be going up. Like my therapist provides a balanced amount of motivation, not too pushy, not too passive. So I like to think of like I'm walking alongside you as your therapist. At times I might be pulling up ahead into the lead with somewhere maybe that I think will be good for us to go, or some insight maybe I've come to maybe ahead of you and I want to get you there. And sometimes maybe you'll be taking more of the lead. That could be more in that you're coming in more intentionally with things you want to talk about and explore and things like that, or you may be coming to insights yourself and I'm like, oh wow, that's a cool insight, yeah, you got there first. And also like I am here to motivate you to change and to lean on you gently towards that change. Otherwise, why are you here? And I'll explore ambivalence and struggles with making changes and what barriers there are. And so there is going to be some of that, right? If you don't want your therapist to put any expectation or emphasis towards change on you, then I don't know, I guess I'm not a fit for you. But at least my understanding of therapy is that there should be some motivation going on. So you can rate me on that. Level of comfort I feel in therapy, whether that's more anxious and tense, more relaxed and comfortable. That's similar to kind of the maybe the acceptance one earlier in this. But I want to know, are you feeling really tense coming to therapy? Is therapy itself bringing up anxiety in you? Or is it more comfortable? And maybe if it's too comfortable, like, does that mean we need to be exploring some harder stuff? Does there need to be maybe some more challenging going on? Is there something that's going over my head under the radar, or something that's being missed here? Because maybe there does need to be maybe something is happening in the therapy dynamic itself to where that comfort level might actually be avoidance. And sometimes therapists can unintentionally be engaging in avoidance with a client by going maybe subtly, even unconsciously, maybe not wanting to talk about some topic or thing or press into some issue because it would be uncomfortable even for the therapist. So that's for us to be aware of. So anyway, your comfort level, something you could rate and something you can let me know. Another rating here is my therapist helped me to discover valuable insights, provide useful information, tools, and homework. So I'm very much about a mix of, you're going to do exploration, you're going to have room to talk, we're going to be going back and forth in dialogue. There's going to be times where I'm doing more educational things. I'm teaching you some concept, I'm teaching you some act thing or psychological thing or something maybe relating to Gottman stuff as far as couples therapy or just different topical areas where I have knowledge. I like to come up with homework assignments. I have a lot of handouts and things that I like to use. I like to think of things kind of on the fly as far as homework stuff. Some people like that and value that. Some people don't. So again, you can rate me on that. Some people want really directive therapy and want those things. I was going to say extra things, so I consider them standard in my therapy, but I get enough feedback from people that that basically a lot of people like the direction and the information and the tools and things like that, and often come from therapy experiences with very non-directive therapists. So everybody's got their different way of doing therapy. This is the way I do it. And then let's see, my therapist avoids or minimizes giving advice, expressing their own values, judgments, or biases. So as a therapist, I try to be very aware of my own self, of my own values, judgments, biases, and things. I'm a very reflective person. I think about my own stuff. I have my own stuff. So I consider myself, always growing, always in need of growth, just as anybody else, right? We all need maintenance and stuff, but I do try to be pretty reflective and self-conscious as far as how I'm practicing and where my own biases can be coming in, and you're not gonna get like we are to minimize our values in therapy because it is meant to be client focused, and so I think I'm doing my best when you have probably no idea where I land on something values wise. At the same time, our values can run very deep, and so it affects how we think, how we view situations and things, the kinds of words we use, to the questions we ask, to the directions we may take with people. And so those things are certainly going to be there. We're not robots. We all have a different flavor, and you're going to get that flavor in the kind of therapy that you're in. So again, you can give me feedback on that, though. I want that kind of feedback because I want you to feel like, I want you to feel like that it's your therapy, right? That we're you focused, and that my stuff isn't coming through and not getting in the way. Because that can cause harm if our stuff is coming into the therapy, and we don't want that. I don't want that. So my therapist is professional and communicates well. So do I have a professional demeanor, the way that I talk, that I act, that I dress, things like that? Is it professional? Is it working for you? Am I communicating well? Do I communicate well in here? Do I communicate well over the phone or email? Please give me feedback. It's better to email me than to call. If it's hit or miss when I'll get back to you on phone calls. Though I do try to call back within 24 hours. But email's easier. Fortunately, we have staff people. We have admin people for handling phone call stuff too. My therapist is timely. Starts sessions on time and ends on time. Oof. I tend to. I struggle here. Everybody I work with probably knows I struggle here. I use timers to help me end on time. And this year I'm really trying to end with those timers really well. But I do have a tendency to run long, to talk more, or give people more time to talk, or ask some provocative question, like right when it's like time to be wrapping up. And sometimes really important stuff comes up right at the end of a session. Maybe you're having this session where finally there's a breakthrough happening in the last 10 minutes, or a couple is getting into a new place in the last 10 minutes. It's like, oh man, you want to explore that. And so I can have a bad habit of going over, but boundaries are important, and I need to model good boundaries. So I do try to end with my timers, and but it is important. These things are important to me. Sometimes I do start a minute or two late to a session, and I do apologize and take ownership. And if you ever need to, if any client is out there, if you're ever a client and it bothers you, please let me know. I do try to be within that like 2 minutes of being on time, but I do have a bad habit of going over at times. Flaw, I'll own it. Working on it. My therapist maintains professional boundaries, maintains appropriate professional conduct. We're professionals. Like people describe therapy as like a professional friend or a bought friend or things like that. And what makes us different from somebody who's just a friend, somebody else in your life, is so much having the right boundaries. And it's very much on our end as therapists that we construct this professional kind of relationship environment where it is very goal focused, where there are clear boundaries about what's okay and what's not okay, about what we're going to be doing here, about how we're going to interact with our clients and the limits that we're going to have. For instance, like I only communicate through my professional email and phone calls. I don't text with clients, don't share social media with clients, things like that. Won't respond to clients if there was any client interaction on something like YouTube or Facebook or something like that. Like there's professional boundaries in that. So again, that's something to be aware of with your therapist or with therapy with me. For couples and families, I feel like my therapist validates my individual perspective. So with that, with couples, with families, I'm dealing with multiple people in the room. And so I do try to do my best to juggle validating, hearing all people's sides. That can be more tricky. That can be tricky when you've got parents coming in and the child is like the problem, right? The identified maybe client or something. Maybe they're having behavioral issues and parents are fed up and coming in and we're having family therapy. And so there can be pulls in the different directions of who you're siding with. When it pulls to align with the child and be very empathetic to their situation, or to align with the parents and be very empathetic to their situation. With couples, right? You run into the struggle of, especially in cases with like infidelity or very imbalanced situation, and maybe one person's doing everything and the other person's not doing nearly enough. You can get into situations where there's these imbalances, or even senses of maybe injustice or things that can be even triggering your values internally. And so those are things to be mindful of. They're things that I'm mindful of. I aim to really balance in time, to give everybody their voice, to reflect everybody's perspective and validate. And at the same time, I will call things out. I will call a spade a spade. I will call a problem. I will call out infidelities and addictions and lies and deceptions and manipulations and things like that. So at the same time, if I'm seeing something toxic, unhealthy happening, if I'm seeing something come out into the room playing out, I'm not going to ignore that either. And again, the best I would say to that is that I try to handle that with care, and while still validating everybody in that, because I want everybody to feel heard and understood. I don't want anybody to feel triangulated against, and yet that is very imperfect and tricky. And there can be mistakes there, and unfortunately, there's a real risk there. There's times where a rapport does get damaged. There are times where you try to hold it all together and it does fall apart. And so I've had my failures there, and that's going to happen, unfortunately. I feel like my therapist balances communication and respects each person's perspective. So again, really just kind of that same thing that I'm giving everybody their voice, balancing everyone's perspective. So that was the final point. Any other comments, concerns you can put on that feedback, any positive feedback about how you're growing in therapy. There's some other lines that I have on this form and things that I encourage people to think about. So that's a rundown of like what stood out to me when I made this form, what good therapy can look like, the areas that I want you, the client, to be aware of, that I want you to be mindful of, and holding me accountable to, giving me feedback on, and that I try to hold myself accountable to along the way too. So I hope that this is helpful. I hope that this gives you just a little more insight about me and how I do therapy, and what you could potentially expect in your therapy experience with me, or what you deserve in a good therapy experience with somebody else. So thank you. This is Overcoming with ACT, and I'm Sean. And if you like this kind of thing, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.